Hello, this is a follow-up to the video where I describe an 8-channel master format and how we use Engine to create multiple outputs. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create some of these workflows. The basic workflow was for MXF files with 8 channels arranged as 5.1 followed by stereo, and we're going to do loudness compliance. So let me show you how to create that workflow. We're going to create a new workflow and define the name. Because I'm specifically working with MXF files, I'm going to select MXF and choose 8 channels for the number of inputs and add that. Then I'm going to specify the loudness module. What I want to do in the loudness module is to use EBU R128, so I'll select that here. We can edit the R128 settings, but the software comes with the standard values built in. And then I specify that I've got a 5.1 on channels 1 to 6, which I'm going to add into my workflow, followed by stereo on 7 and 8 that I add to my workflow. Save that. And now I'm going to specify the output as another 8-channel MXF file. We can leave the settings here unchanged unless we have specific requirements for stream or metadata in the file. So I've now created the workflow that matched the one I used in the other video. The next cases in the other video are when either the 5.1 or the surround are missing. So let's create a new one to demonstrate that. So I shall assume that there's no surround in the file, but I still have the same 8-channel MXF file. I still want to do loudness on the stereo using my standard R128 setting. So I'll add that, but now I'm going to choose another module. I'm going to choose the Upmix module, and I'm going to go from the stereo on 7.8 and create a 5.1 on channels 1 to 6. Once this is done, we'll apply loudness to that. So now I'm doing 5.1 loudness to R128 on the first 6 channels. Create the output. And again, you can see this matches the workflow that we had before. If the stereo channel is missing but we have the surround instead, then we would start by doing a loudness on the 5.1, then we'd use the downmix module to create the stereo, and then finally apply loudness to the downmix. The other example I demonstrated was creating Dolby Digital. And we'd do it something like this. Again, we'll start with our exact same format. We'll do the loudness because we still need to have R128 loudness on everything in our file. Now we choose the Dolby Digital Encode module. And just for this instance, we're going to do the default setting here, take the 5.1 that's on the first 6 channels and encode to a Dolby that I'm going to put, just as a demonstration, I shall put that on channels 5 and 6. We'll save that, and then I'm going to use the channel mapping and mute module to mute the unused channels that are part of the 5.1 that we are no longer using. Okay, so we'll just again define the outputs, finish saving our settings. So here's our completed workflow. 8-channel MXF, loudness compliance to the surround and the stereo to EBU R128, Dolby Digital encoding of whichever portions of the file we want, and we place that on a chosen pair. The stereo source in this instance will still be on channel 7/8, that's not touched. And then because channels 1 to 6 have been replaced by 5 and 6 containing a Dolby digital encoded audio, we're putting a mute on 1, 2, 3 and 4 to make sure the output is clean. So that's it, that's how you create those workflows.